A spouse checks in the Panthers Twitter to chime in on a certain Panthers coach status and what's going on behind the scenes. Somehow the Carolina Panthers got a victory Monday, even though they didn't get a victory on Sunday. You won't believe how much it costs to get into a Panthers game these days. And could a former Panthers coach potentially be getting a new job already? We got all that and more at this edition of Panthers News Today. We're starting right now. What up, does? Aaron Duncan with the Necessary Bluntness Sports Talk. Recap and analysis of the Panthers is what I do on this channel here. So if you want to see more videos about your favorite team, the Carolina Panthers, live streams, video updates, podcasts, news videos like this, film breakdowns, hit the subscribe button down below and the bell icon is going to make sure you stay notified anytime I drop videos. And if you want bonus content on the Panthers and want to support your independent creator, you can leave a super thanks or super chat down below. It's the heart with the dollar sign in it. Or if you want to get a little bit more value as well for the team, you can join the Patreon, patreon.com/UB Sports Talk. You're going to get bonus film breakdowns. Draft season's coming up. I'm doing prospect breakdowns as well, just to go ahead and get ahead and look at the future of this team. Like I said, it's also the heartbeat and the best way to support the channel. And of course, you can leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts about any of the topics that we discussed today. And please give this video a thumbs up. Let's go ahead and get into it. So Chris Tabor did his post-game press conference the following day on Monday, and he revealed that he gave the Panthers players the day off. And day offs typically on Monday are reserved for victory Mondays after wins on Sunday. But this late in the season, he felt like it was a time for these guys to step away, refresh, try to get their mind away from the game, because this season has been it's been a drag for everybody. And you can see that enthusiasm is low. The energy is low on game days. Even when guys are making plays at times on defense, the support, the energy level is just not there. And this team just seems to be dragging to the finish line and to finish this season out. I know a lot of fans weren't happy about this because they felt like they haven't earned it. But even though when players are in there on Mondays, sometimes you hear these interviews and you hear the ping pong table, and a lot of fans aren't happy about that either. It's just been a crazy amount of time here. I don't mind it, honestly. Like I said, I need days off too. I mean, sometimes when work is just going bad, sometimes you need mental health days. Guys even show up anyway. They do their rehab and they watch film on their own anyway. These players still are human, and you don't just kind of continue to beat a dead horse, because clearly we've only had one victory Monday all year. So bringing them in on Monday hasn't really helped us win any more games anyway. So trying something new, shaking it up. I have no problem with Chris Tabor, the interim head coach, giving the players a little bit of time off. I'm sure he was pissed off about that performance against the Saints, because it was a game that the scoreboard won't tell it, but there were opportunities for the Panthers to do what they had to do. Special teams really let us down. Obviously, offense let us down per usual, and the defense just couldn't hold on long enough. Typical Panthers fashion, that the defense plays 3.5 quarters of good football, then the dam just breaks, and it's all downhill from there. So giving them a victory Monday, even though we didn't get a victory, we'll see what happens. But you guys let me know down below in the comments how you feel about them getting rewarded with the day off, even though they might not have earned it. Panthers Twitter is a very interesting place. It can be toxic at times, but me personally, I love to live tweet on game day just to be involved. I'm usually watching the game on my own. It gives me a chance to feel like I'm around some friends and watching the game with some friends, and I give my thoughts as things go. I like to bounce thoughts off of other guys, laugh and joke. There's always good memes, but it can be a toxic place, and especially when certain players and even coaches are under fire. One coach that was under fire is, of course, offensive coordinator. I don't know if anybody in the NFL likes their offensive coordinator per se. However, Thomas Brown was the apple of a lot of Panthers Twitter's eye, as some of his situational play calls really drew a lot of scrutiny from most people on Panthers Twitter, even myself. You know me, I've been a big proponent of Thomas Brown, talked about him on podcasts, how I loved his potential, broke down some of his play calls in 2 different videos as well. I actually like some of the things that he's done over the past 2 weeks versus the Bucs and the Saints. We've run the ball very efficiently. We just don't necessarily have the horses overall. My biggest knock on him is just running the ball on 3rd short and 4th and short after we've been running the ball for multiple chunk yardage plays in the game. Just situational stuff that probably is growing pains of being inexperienced, but it's still criticism nonetheless. And however, in terms of those criticisms, somebody jumped into the trenches with us and had some feedback. Nobody other than the wife of offensive coordinator Thomas Brown had some tweets off that has since been deleted, and the whole page has been deleted thus far, because there might have been some things that weren't really needed to be said. But there was some chatter about, okay, hey, Thomas Brown, you need to be fired, whatever. She has some thoughts and responses to that. One original tweet said, if we're keeping it a buck, Thomas Brown should be fired tomorrow. She then responded, we are fired, We just have to stay behind because somebody has to call plays. If you guys know someone else to do the next 4 weeks, give Tepper a holler, laughing emoji, as if this is fun for us. Blank stare emoji. So a lot of things to unpack, and I can't even lie. I can't blame her for chiming in. I would love for my wife to go to bat for me. Granted, there's probably some things that Thomas didn't want her to really say or reveal per se about those thoughts, and I'm sure they have some conversations that they talk about behind closed doors that she probably might have said a little bit too much. But I have no problem with her jumping in and defending his honor. It's not the first time somebody's spouse or girlfriend has jumped in and talked with Panthers Twitter. Earlier in the year, when a lot of criticism was going against J.C. Horn being hurt, his girlfriend chimed in and defended him. We also saw Frank Reich's daughter liking tweets about David Tepper being bad and how Frank Reich didn't get a fair shake. So this is not the first run-in with family and spouses and girlfriends from Panthers Twitter. It's always a head turner or an eye opener when things like this happen. I also have no problem with what she said. A lot of fans were thinking that Thomas Brown was trying to sabotage that because with those words saying that somebody has to do it and if you can find somebody else to do it, meaning that he didn't want to do it and he was trying to deliberately throw Panthers games or something like that. Just weird energy when I talk about the toxicity of this fan base. And I just think that type of stuff and questioning his integrity is just dumb in my opinion. For one, Thomas Brown has been a big fan of Bryce Young, how much he believes in Bryce Young. That has never wavered. We heard it on Camp Confidential. We heard it during the draft process. We've heard it in press conferences. Just really stood on business behind how he feels about Bryce Young and how he feels like he'll be one of the better quarterbacks in this league. A report from Albert Breer also came out this weekend saying that Thomas Brown had actually been pushing Bryce Young and trying to hold him more accountable and coach him a little bit harder, especially after we heard from Joe Person's report that Frank Reich and Josh McCown were taking it a little bit too easy on Bryce Young in order to try to coddle, I guess, or protect his feelings. So very contrasting coaching styles, but we've heard that even in the interim, Thomas Brown has really been trying to get on Bryce Young and push him a little bit more outside of his comfort zone. So to think that he would just mail it in and stop coaching because he's a dead man walking per se in terms of play calling, that it just doesn't make sense. And I can understand where his wife is coming from because Thomas Brown has been on record talking about how big of a role his wife has played in supporting him and helping his career. We remembered that he was an assistant coach for Sean McVay, got some interviews, but never really progressed in his coaching career like he would like. And we know what happens sometimes with minority coaches in terms of what the Rooney Rule has done and why it's there. And sometimes these guys just don't get fair shakes. Thomas Brown came to the Panthers because he wanted to step from under the wing of Sean McVay because he didn't want to give any kind of teams or organizations excuses to not hire him. We've seen black offensive coordinator like Eric Bieniemy have to leave the Kansas City Chiefs because even though he won 2 Super Bowls, has coached one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and has some of the most productive offenses of all time, he was not able to get a head coaching job. And we've heard some excuses how Andy Reid was the real mastermind. Eric Bieniemy wasn't really doing anything, even though we've seen the Kansas City offense struggle mightily without him this year. The proof is sometimes in the pudding. So sometimes these black coaches feel like they have to take these type of risks and take these high risk jobs, as Eric Bieniemy is working for a lame duck coach in Ron Rivera, and Thomas Brown had to leave the Rams, even though he won the Super Bowl, and go to a team like the Panthers, who is going to have a rookie quarterback and coach under guys that he hasn't really worked with before. Unfortunately, it's come back to bite him, as Frank Reich wasn't a lame duck coach, but he definitely got fired during the season. And in his worst offense in the NFL, this will be a stain on his resume, whether it was his playbook, whether it was Frank's playbook, whether it was Frank calling the plays really or not letting him do his own thing. It's going to be a stain on his resume, and it's just unfortunate that even though he's a young, brilliant head coach, in my opinion, that has a resume similar to other coaches, he's going to get the short end of the stick. People may try to knock Thomas Brown for saying, like, why should he deserve to be a head coach or offensive coordinator when he's never called plays before? Why would it make sense for him to call plays? We've seen multiple Sean McVay assistants like Matt LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell, and Zach Taylor come from that same background. Being an offensive coordinator, not calling plays with the Rams, get head coaching jobs, call plays there, and get a fair shake, get a shot, do fairly decent. So why would Thomas Brown be any different for them? Why does he deserve any kind of different fate from them? That's where the questions come in about the shortcomings or the inequities in terms of black head coaches in their climb in this modern NFL, because they say that defensive coaches don't really work and they're going towards offensive coaches. Well, Eric Bieniemy, Thomas Brown, offensive-minded coaches still don't get a fair shake. So something's got to give. And like I said, Thomas Brown and his wife taking this opportunity is what they felt like they needed to do to progress in his career. It's just unfortunate that's really come back to bite him in the butt. However, I hope and I'm rooting for him. Like I said, I like some of the concepts that he's done with this team, but I have no problem with his wife chiming in and defending her man. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I love that energy from my wife, so I'm not even going to knock her for that. You guys let me know down below in the comments how you feel about his wife getting into Panthers Twitter and kind of dropping that nugget about somebody having to call plays, because Parks Frazier does have play calling experience. He was the offensive coordinator when Frank Reich got fired last year with the Colts, so it could have been him, but they kept him and Thomas Brown around, got rid of McCown and Frank, and left Thomas around. So it seems like it's not fun, like his wife says, but it's something that he has to do, because, I mean, this may be his only shot for a while now to prove what he can do and see if he can make chicken salad out of chicken doo-doo. But I don't think he would sabotage himself or this team, and that's just weak and to question his integrity, in my opinion. But you guys let me know your thoughts down below. And after the pandemic and a lot of the money and PPP loans and stimulus checks, inflation has gone crazy, and there's not really too many things that you can get these days that are affordable, unless you are a Carolina Panthers fan, because right now, tickets to this Sunday's Atlanta Falcons Carolina Panthers games are going for as low as $5. $5. You can't even get a Subway footlong that cheap these days in Joe Biden's economy, but you can get into a Panthers game. Inflation is running rampant, and this economy is taking a toll on everybody, but inflation does not stand a chance against this poverty franchise of the Carolina Panthers. So if you are interested in going to a Panthers game, this would be the time to go. According to StubHub, you can get in there for $10 for 2 tickets. Obviously, fees will apply, but if you've never been before, this is the time to go. It may be cold, it may be boring, it may be empty, but you can go to a game. This would be one of those weeks we don't have to worry about opposing fans overrunning the stadium. We don't have to worry about some kind of takeover or massive takeover from other fan bases. There may be a lot of Falcons fans there, but I doubt they're going to fill it up. They're not as enthused about this Falcons team after how they did against the Bucs, even though they still have a chance to win a division. This is going to be an embarrassing game. I mean, attendance will be embarrassingly low. Honestly, I think it's the perfect microcosm of what this David Tepper tenure as an owner has done to this fan base. There's a lack of enthusiasm. There's so much apathy around this fan base. People really just don't care. They're watching Red Zone. They're not even watching football at all. You have really taken the life out of this fan base. So it's just a sign. And I hope he gets the message. And I feel bad for the players, because they do love the fan support and having that home support. There is something about playing at the bank as a player that I'm sure that they love. But you just can't expect people to spend their hard-earned money on a product that they can't even be proud of. Most people don't even recognize this team from the team that they grew and loved. So I don't mind fans and whoever hitting that fan transfer portal and going to find new teams. I don't even blame them. I'm not going to turn my nose up at them. It is what it is. This struggle has been real. I just never thought I would see the day where we'd end up like a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's cheaper to get a combo of seats at a Panthers game than it is to get a combo of 2 Supremes at Bojangles with a sweet tea and some bow rounds. This is crazy. But it's 2023. David Tepper is the team owner, and here we are. You guys let me know if you're thinking about going to one of these dirt cheap games at home before the year is over. I know we have the Packers coming up. Obviously, their fans will probably take over as well, but there's probably some opportunity to really go see the team for cheap if you want to. So let me know down below in the comments if you plan on going to see this team in person or experience an NFL game for the first time. And the last topic is news that I really would not believe. An opinion piece in the Philadelphia Inquirer says that the Philadelphia Eagles should hire none other than former Panthers head coach Frank Reich to their staff. Now, Eagles fans, they're one of the most intense fan bases in the NFL. They've had a great year thus far, but they started to struggle and sputter as of late. Their offense is not looking great. Jalen Hurts has his struggles. Rookie play caller Brian Johnson has been under scrutiny as well. And head coach Nick Sirianni is a Frank Reich disciple. And so an opinion piece in a Philadelphia Inquirer thinks they should go after him. Sirianni was actually asked about Frank Reich, and he never really closed the door to Frank Reich joining as maybe an advisor or as a consultant, and it's not something that they haven't done before. Last year, they brought in Vic Fangio, who's the current defensive coordinator for the Dolphins, to help their defense, and that really kind of helped spark their defense and get them going to where they were and get to that Super Bowl that they wanted to. And even though they didn't win, They hired a consultant later on in the year, and it really helped them out. So bringing in a guy like Frank Reich, who Nick Sirianni is very, very close with, doesn't seem crazy from that former connection standpoint. I don't understand how he can still have so much luster around the NFL and how they can continue to make excuses for him. He's been fired twice within the past calendar year. What does he know about offense? Because we have one of the worst offenses in franchise and the franchise history and the NFL. I don't care about the offensive line and the rookie quarterback. It was just lack of creativity, lack of motion, lack of diversity of personnel and formations. What does Frank Reich know that he can bring to a Eagles offense that can really help? I think he's still been coattailing off of this Super Bowl championship where he really didn't even call plays under Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson was the head coach and the play caller. He gets a lot of credit for helping young Carson Wentz, but he really couldn't do much for young Bryce Young. So I'm not understanding where the luster is for the Eagles fans. Is it just nostalgia that they're begging for? Are they that desperate to the point that they feel like they need to get something dramatic like Frank Reich? I just don't understand how a guy can continue to fail up. After getting fired during the season by the Colts, he immediately bounced back and got a job with the Carolina Panthers with a very, very lucrative deal and got fired in season again. And here we are talking about rumors of him getting another job. Now, Frank Reich has told the Charlotte Observer that he planned on staying out of the NFL space. It was pretty much done. I would too if I was getting $50,000 a day from David Tepper to kind of just stay away and chill and play with my grandkids. But stranger things have happened. And some of the excuses in that article for him was that he had to coach under terrible owners. But Shane Steichen, the actual former offensive coordinator for the Eagles, he's figuring it out and doing fairly well for that crazy owner. Now, David Tepper is a whole different ballgame, so I can't even defend David Tepper there. But try to keep giving this guy excuses is the same logic that Nebraska gave Matt Rule when he went back to college as well and gave him that lucrative deal there. And these retreads rarely work. Not that Frank would be a head coach. It's just so mind-numbing that they keep doing these retreads when it's been proven that these guys, the game has kind of passed them by, and the new blood and the younger coaches are really what's new. I don't know. It's not my team anymore. Not really my concern that much either, but it's just frustrating to hear, and it kind of is what it is. Let me know down below in the comments how you feel about Frank Reich potentially bouncing back and getting a new job already with the Philadelphia Eagles. But I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below with the bell icon so you're notified anytime I drop a video. I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.